When Bell Laboratories developed the first silicon solar cell in 1954, a technological breakthrough that converted sunlight into electricity, the invention made headlines. It may mark the beginning of a new era, leading eventually to the realization of one of mankind's most cherished dreams, the harnessing of almost limitless energies of the sun. That hope was born out of a humbling statistic: the amount of sunlight that strikes the Earth's surface in an hour and a half is even enough to meet the world's energy demand for a year. Over the next several decades, solar technologies made huge progress to the point that by 2020, solar electricity turned cheaper compared to polluting sources of energy like coal and fossil fuels. In November last year, India achieved a major milestone when its renewable energy capacity surpassed past 200 gigawatts. By 2030. It hopes to scale up renewables to 500 gigawatt. India's renewable energy targets are critical to its stated goal of reaching net zero carbon emissions by 2070. Data by the Central Electricity Authority shows that by end January 25, renewables comprised 45% of the installed power capacity. Solar capacity crossed 100 gigawatts and now accounts one-fifth of the India's installed power capacity. Considering that solar was a paltry 3.7 gigawatt in March 2015, the sector witnessed a remarkable 27-fold growth in less than a decade. In 2023, India spent $30 billion on green capital expenditure, which is expected to grow more than 400 billion cumulatively in a decade spanning 2022 to 2032. It, it now costs electricity distribution companies anywhere between 2.5 and 4.8 to purchase a unit of renewable power, depending on whether the project involves a mix of solar, wind, hydro, and includes some battery storage. This is comparable or less than the cost of thermal power using coal, which hovers between 5 to 6 per rupees per unit. Now the question is, if solar is cheaper than thermal, why are we not producing more electricity from this endless resource? Why is the share of solar in overall power generation still less than 10%? Despite the progress India made so far in its energy transition journey, some recent state of the sector reports flag multiple gaps which include inadequate transmission infrastructure. Renewable power generated in one state has to be transported to another, and the projects failing to take off. India issued a record 73 gigawatt of renewable energy tenders in 2024, exceeding its annual target of 50 gigawatt, but 8.5 gigawatt of capacity was undersubscribed, 5 times higher than the previous year. Worryingly, the cumulative unsigned power sale agreement capacity now exceeds 40 gigawatt. This means that while companies are willing to set up renewable energy projects, there aren't enough buyers. Another report by Delhi-based Center for Science and Environment released in January, underlying that sluggish pace of commissioning of renewable energy projects for 34.5 gigawatt of solar, wind, and hydro hybrid projects. Power purchase agreements have been signed, but projects are yet to be commissioned. Power purchase agreements are signed with project developers or companies which produce solar power and agencies which issue tenders like the Solar Energy Corporation of India. This implies lack of interest from state-owned discoms to purchase renewable power. India's fledgling solar sector also received a blow after it was marred by allegations of bribery. In November last year, US Securities and Exchange Commission began investigating top executives at Adani Green Energy and Azure Power for their role in allegedly paying $250 million bribes to Indian state government officials to secure solar contracts. As per the SEC, Adani Green Energy raised $2 billion from American and foreign investors based on false and misleading statements about the firm's anti corruption and anti bribery efforts. Adani Green Energy has denied the allegations. Without getting into legal arguments or the merits of the case, the question that arises here is why should there be a need to bribe officials to accept solar energy contracts? When delivered solar energy costs are cheaper than coal based thermal power, why is solar not a preferred option? Mint spoke with energy researchers and industry insiders to understand if solar purchases are slowing down and what can be done to resolve the problem. They spoke of steep targets set up by the center, inadequate transmission infrastructure, the reluctance of states. Some questioned the auction process itself. Ministry of New and Renewable Energy did not respond to queries from the Mint. A lot of renewable energy is pushed to states without consulting them, said a former MNRE secretary who did not want to be named. The renewable purchase obligations, which mandate states to source a certain share of energy from renewables, is shoddingly designed and cannot be enforced legally. It needs consensus between center and states. The target to push 50 gigawatt renewables every year does not take into account whether we have the capacity to implement it, the former bureaucrat added. Again, the renewable purchase obligation, which mandates states to source a certain share of energy from the renewables, is shoddingly designed and cannot be enforced legally. It needs consensus between center and states. The target to push 50 gigawatt renewables every year does not take into account whether we have the capacity to implement it. Not everyone agrees the center is doing the right thing by pushing an ambitious target and aligning states with India's clean energy goals. Sinha added that the main operational challenge over the last few years was availability of imported equipment due to disrupted supply chains during the COVID 19 pandemic. But the situation has vastly improved due to policy push to promote domestic equipment manufacturing. We are proud to share that our solar project in Rajasthan of about 13 megawatt peak capacity is commissioned using modules manufactured at our own facility in Jaipur, Rajasthan, which is an industry milestone. A drawback of solar is its inherent intermittency. A drawback of solar is its intermittency. Solar power cannot be produced after sunset, even though power demand often peaks during evening hours. This means electricity providers have to arrange for backup power from other sources, be it thermal or hydro. Even during the day, solar generation can fluctuate. Due to cloud cover or varying levels of sunshine, this intermittency can disrupt the stability of the grid, a complex network of power plants and transmission lines which matches demand with supply. A possible solution lies in storing solar power generated during the day in batteries for use, but this raises the cost of power. For discoms in financial distress, solar can turn out to be a difficult to manage proposition, one where they have to pay for backup power and fixed charges imposed by thermal power plants even when they are not drawing power. Another flip side of solar is that capacity utilization or plant load factor usually hovers between 20 to 25%, leading to lower average power output, again produced because solar panels do not produce power during night time. In comparison, thermal power plants operate at plant load factor of 60 to 80%. This means larger capacities need to be set up for solar to increase its share in generation. Of course, intermittency and low plant load factor are not glitches, they are intrinsic to solar. After reverse auctions were introduced in 2016 into the renewable energy sector, The quoted tariffs went aggressively low, with solar tariffs tumbling down to as low as 2.5, 2.4 per unit, without considering whether it is feasible to put projects on ground at those prices, said a senior executive of a renewable energy firm. In reverse auctions, sellers, project developers compete with each other by offering the lowest price to deliver power. The person added that while auctions are centralized tenders quoted by central agencies like SECI, power is purchased by state owned discoms who are often reluctant. Further, projects have to come up in land owned by states. These are points of friction. In addition, power evacuation systems are not in place. The timeline to develop transmission lines were aligned to their thermal era when it took 4 to 5 years to build the infra. It takes 2 to 3 years now. While my solar projects would take just a year and a half to start generation, transmission lines take much longer. We have done wonders when it comes to energy transition, but somewhere in this journey we forgot that the backbone of power supply still remains conventional sources like thermal and hydro. But all policy support was directed to push renewables. The latest economic survey makes a similar argument. In India's case, most capacity additions to the coal-fired plants were made only in 2010, survey said. There is no valid economic rationale for shutting down coal plants in India, leaving huge investments underutilized and stranded and without a dependable alternative in place. The hard truth is, despite the impressive growth in renewables, thermal still accounts for over 70% of generation. The IEEFA report quoted earlier said that delays in project implementation and mounting unsold power inventory pose a significant challenge to India's renewable energy target for 2030. This could deter investors, affect availability of low cost finance, and impact 75 gigawatt of large scale renewable projects. But undersubscribed tenders seem less of a worry. Most renewable energy tenders are significantly oversubscribed due to strong demand from developers. The tenders which receive low participation are usually those where tariffs are artificially capped, making project financially unviable. Like in state level battery energy storage system tenders, a 300 megawatt solar project needs over 900 acres. Acquiring such huge contiguous land parcels, especially near grid substations, is a significant hurdle. 300 mega solar power project uh, needs over 900 acres. Land procurement is increasingly becoming a challenge due to the sector's rapid growth and concentration in specific regions like Gujarat and Rajasthan. Greater transparency and ease in allocation of state and central government controlled land would immensely benefit the sector. A reason why state discoms are reluctant to purchase renewable power is volatile and falling tariffs. They don't want to lock themselves into a 25-year long agreement when tariffs may fall due to low cost energy storage technologies in the future. Further, domestic manufactured solar modules currently cost more than double the price in global markets, and prices may fall in future, leading to lower tariffs. Currently, companies generating power under government projects have used domestically manufactured modules as per the mandate to promote local production and reduce dependence on China. Currently, companies generating power under government projects have to use domestically manufactured modules. The center needs to work closely with states to ensure that renewable energy tenders align to their requirements. Also, it is time to rethink the waiver of transmission charges as these costs are often socialized with the end consumer footing the bill. This will lead to a balanced development of new projects in states where renewable energy generation is lagging. Currently, Green energy projects commissioned before end June 25 are exempted from paying interstate transmission charges. To resolve the current backlog of projects, both center and state governments have to step up investments and modernize the grid infrastructure. States will need to set ambitious renewable energy targets, particularly those in the eastern region, which are coal dependent and lags behind in renewable energy generation. This is crucial for just an equitable transition. The good thing is, states like Odisha and Assam are setting the right goals. A just transition ensures that communities which are dependent on polluting sources of energy to make a living do not lose out with greater adoption of clean energy. Another cog in the wheel is to prioritize decentralized solutions. Bali said, if electricity can be produced by households adopting rooftop solar, it will reduce the need to transport power over long distances. If electricity can be produced by households adopting rooftop solar, it will reduce the need to transport power over long distances. In February last year, Center approved 75,000 crore PM Surya Ghar Free Electricity Scheme, PM Surya Ghar Free Electricity Scheme, targeting 10 million families with subsidy up to 78,000 per family. As the scheme picks up pace, so far a million families have benefited. Rooftop solar holds a promise to improve clean energy penetration and ease the load on overworked grids. Despite rough edges, India's journey in renewable offer hope that it can meet the ever growing demand for energy without adding to carbon emissions, further polluting its air and worsening the climate crisis. Solar electricity is now cheaper compared to polluting sources. It costs DISCOMs 2.5 to 4.8 to buy a unit of renewable power compared to less than the cost of